Welcome to Cheers. I'm your host, Avery Woods. Dr. Christina Rahm, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
No, I'm so happy to have you. We were supposed to meet a little while ago and then our schedules didn't line up.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy that we got this opportunity.
Me too. Thank you.
No, thank you. So you wear so many different hats. When someone asks you what you do for a living, what's your answer?
You know, I am a scientist humanitarian that does a lot of things globally to try to innovate and improve the world that we're in, whether it's the land, air, and water, or people or animals. And so that's what I really feel like I'm doing in all areas, not just science.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I quickly want to just, I'm sure people ask you this all the time, but what are your degrees?
So I have a lot of international degrees, but let me start with my undergrad. I have an undergraduate degree in criminal justice and psychology.
Amazing.
At one point, I thought I was going to be in the CIA or the FBI, or a lawyer. You know, I was trying to figure out what to do. And then I have a master's of science, and then I have a doctorate degree in counseling psychology from the University of South Alabama, or Sarasota. The first degrees are from University of South Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also taught and did school at Spring Hill College, which is a Jesuit school, like I think Pepperdine.
Okay.
And then I have a degree, I have an MD degree from Ghana, from Kesmond, where I helped develop their cadaver labs in their schools. And we have a podcast coming out about that. And I developed their whole curriculum. But I've never practiced as an MD.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have postgraduate work and graduate certifications for 3 years from Harvard in nanobiotechnology and bioscience engineering. And then online certifications and degrees where I also went in person from Cornell in pharmaceutical, nutraceutical manufacturing, and then also in nutrition and healthy living. Internationally, I got a PhD in pharmacology, and I also have PhDs in strategic science. So I have a lot, and I have 5 honorary degrees, like from the Vatican and different places. I'm the chairman at Yesman University for nutraceuticals and pharmaceuticals. So I've done a lot of different things, not just in the United States, but internationally as well.
If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 55. Well, no, I'm 56 now. I'm sorry. It's interesting. I was born in 1969, my original birth certificate, but my name was, it was during Vietnam. My name was spelt wrong and the wrong date, my mother says. So they changed it when I turned 16. I know that's a weird story, but it actually happens to not, it wasn't just me. When all of that was happening and people just wrote out the birth certificates because I'm that old and I grew up in the country, they didn't always do it right? So anyway, 56. Yeah.
Well, you look amazing for 56, but also you are so accomplished for 56. And what's incredible is that you also have 4 children.
I do.
How do you balance it all?
You know, I have my 29-year-old is getting married this year.
Amazing.
You have 4 children too. I love meeting people that have children.
Yeah.
Because it makes me feel more normal.
Especially when you're in a certain type of business or you provide for your family. It's kind of rare to meet people in our positions that have a lot of kids.
You know, I used to work for pharmaceutical and biotech, and I was the only female that usually had children in a company at that level in science.
Okay.
And then to have 4 was kind of not celebrated.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember one CEO saying, "You understand you can't have more children." And the last 2 were kind of a surprise, but I'm very thankful for that surprise. It's 2 of the best surprises of my life.
Yeah.
And, you know, managing a 29 and 26, 19, 20-year-old, and I say managing and loving, right? But they're your responsibility the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And so being able to juggle that, I've really incorporated a tight circle of friends and family that have honestly helped me navigate that system because there's no way I can do all of it on my own. I just can't.
It takes a village is a very real statement.
It really does. I know when Hillary Clinton came out with that, I actually resonated with that because there's no way in my life. I have amazing teams that manage different companies. My name's behind it, but if you really look at it, it's because I do choose really amazing people to be around. And if it doesn't work, then I have to get rid of people because as a scientist, I understand that our cells are talking. I used to not understand that till I went back to Harvard. And then we had a whole class on helping us understand that whoever you surround yourself with either elevates you or makes your life less because the cells coordinate just like they do inside the body, which I never really completely understood that. I understood as a psychologist that it matters who you're around, but now I understand as a scientist on a much deeper level, it matters. And so that's really changed my life, to be honest. Once I finished that degree, it helped me really make better decisions in my life.
Yeah, this interests me so much because I don't know if you know, my background's in nursing.
Yeah.
So I was a PICU nurse. And so science was always very important to me. That was how I became interested in nursing. Was I took my anatomy classes and I loved it. It's so fascinating to me. So it's interesting hearing this conversation from a different perspective. That's, you're so science-based, whereas I'm more medical-based. What are the products that you focus on with your brands? Because I know you're big into toxins and you talk a lot about that. So what are some of those products that you have developed?
So this is my biggest passion in life. You know how you choose what your mission is.
Yeah.
And this is my mission. I feel like, I lost a child. I had another child with cancer who just moved in LA. He's great now, but he was 2. And I'm sure you know this as a mother. It was devastating to me.
Oh, and I also was a pediatric ICU nurse. So I treated kids with cancer a lot of my career. I do a lot of work with St. Jude. I'm so passionate about childhood cancer awareness.
Me too. And I've done a lot of research at St. Jude. So I understand.
Amazing.
So when you have a child and it happens, it's devastating, right? And so I ended up having a pituitary prolactinoma, brain tumor, syringomyelia, melanoma, squamous, basal. I had all kinds of cancer because when my first child was born, it just kind of spread throughout my body. And this became such a mission of mine to detox the world because I started understanding, I've worked at Pfizer, J&J, Bristol Myers, I could go on and on.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what we developed, we still had more autoimmune disorders and more cancer. And you may or may not remember this, 20 years ago, they didn't understand that environmental triggers were what was causing an autoimmune disorder and disease. They looked at genetics, right? But what they weren't looking at is that an epigenetic was caused from an environmental factor, whether it was a virus, bacteria, fungus, parasites, or all the mycoplastics, toxins. And then the more I looked into it, I went to meetings with the World Health Organization and UN and was looking at all the data. And I said to myself, someone's got to step in. The governments don't have the money to change this. We can't change our air, land, and water overnight. It's too expensive. So my mission became, how do I make products scientifically that get rid of the toxins that we have already created? We can't give up. For us to say we're not going to do anything does not work. When I started understanding that the organic food we were eating, if the seed that was planted in that ground had parent seeds that had GMOs, then you're just planting that. And even though it's on organic soil and land and water, you're going to put into people's bodies these toxins, right? That's why I went back to school, to try to learn, how do I get rid of this in every plant, leaf, seed, and bean. And so I started focusing on that. So all the products I produce go through a multifaceted process, even the clothing, to detox and then put in a protective barrier without synthetics. So this became a huge mission of mine, and everything that I've done over the last, I would say 10, 15 years of my life has been focused on that.
And what is the product that you ended up developing from all of this research?
So Clean Slate was the big product. It was launched. It's the only product I've ever worked on that has been so controversial, legal issues, because it does a lot of amazing things. I can't make claims about it, but it was launched in this country, and that's why the company took off in 90 countries. Because when people started realizing they could get rid of microplastics and mycotoxins, it became extremely important to them to try to help their bodies. Some people have been vaccinated, some people hadn't, but it doesn't matter. We're all exposed to this, and even the clothes we're wearing and what we're breathing. And so Clean Slate was honestly a life-changing product for a lot of people, just because its purpose is to go in and really clean out the body gradually and safely. This product, it's kind of like everything you do. Like if you go home and you make spaghetti, it may turn out bad, right? Or it may turn out great. I wasn't sure, so I made about 21 formulas. Then I went down to 17. And a lot of those are in the basis of a lot of the things I do. I ended up revising everything in 2018 and 2019 to change even the patents that I had written. And so now I have new patents filed because I just kept catching how I could make it better. So that particular formula is really important. And then Clean Spirits, which has a lot of patents around it, is to basically block sugar and carbs and help the body metabolize alcohol. And it even got the trademarks and the patents approved for emergency use, and for liver support, because your liver has to detox.
Yeah.
So to metabolize and detox things in the liver, it also got things approved like reversal of aging and regeneration of the skin, hair, and nails. Because if you can detox things out of the body or clean the body, the cells can be like a newborn baby and they can communicate and they can be healthy. So, the other part of what I did was, now what are we going to put in people's bodies? So, I had to make sure I created processes to help clean even a vitamin C or a plant or a leaf or resveratrol or turmeric curcumin, which turmeric curcumin's amazing. It's like and peptides are amazing, but they
Hmm.
hold on to these toxins and heavy metals. It was too hard to talk to people about it, to be honest,
Yeah.
because your scientists and doctors in the world didn't understand those conversations. And to be honest, it makes people mad because it's one of these things, and I don't understand this. People would rather not hear the truth. People think it's too much, but for me, as a mother and as a scientist, we have to face the truth so we can solve things.
Yeah.
And that became, I'm not even scared of things anymore, to be honest, because at one point I worked on a project that had to do with Mars and, the moon and travel and everything. And I started thinking, I need to help our Earth here, because the likelihood of my children going to another planet is a lot less than the likelihood that I can help this planet, right?
Sure.
And that
Yeah.
became my
And
goal.
you know what? I think even though people always have opinions, you obviously your passion has paid off because your business is extremely successful. All of them are. And I think it's grown immensely because people have been using it and spread word about it working for them.
Yeah.
So I think what started as your passion project, aside from people's opinions, paid off in the long run.
I think it did too. One of my other focuses, we have a product called Zero In. I was really focused on mental health
Mm,
because I had worked in China a lot and I've worked in so many countries. And I knew that the repercussions of what happened years ago were going to be mental illness. Because when you have something like a pandemic,
sure.
you have things that are happening. It's not just what goes on, it's how you mentally and emotionally handle it. And so, like for your younger generation, I'm sure you know this, you have children,
Hmm.
the depression, the anxiety, especially among women,
Hmm.
and what people are dealing with, it's almost like they're paralyzed, right?
Sure.
So that became a huge focus. And I understood that anytime you have a virus or anytime you have this major illness, dopamine and serotonin go down lower. And I told you my first doctorate degree was psychology.
Yeah.
And so I really started focusing on how can I naturally improve focus and performance? How can I naturally improve anxiety and depression? I can't claim I'm doing it, but what can I do to make the body overall balance out and be able to deal with things? And that's where Zero In came in. And I was even focused on myself, to be honest,
Hmm.
because I get very tired. I have a lot to do. I had worked at Pfizer during Viagra, and I wanted something that also increased sexual performance.
Okay.
So Zero In hit all of those platforms. I sourced some of those ingredients from Africa and India, from vines or roots that you cannot get anywhere else, which is one of the reasons I travel a lot.
Sure.
But again, it was a passion project for me, for my children and their children. And even though I understood most women didn't understand what I was doing, I understood that once they did, they would be able to help their family, because women love their family,
Yeah.
right? And I know men do too. But when a child comes out of your body or you're responsible day to day, it kind of changes you.
Absolutely.
And so I really wanted to do something that later people would be like, okay, this is helping my family. I didn't want to say I was doing it, I wanted it to help. So having a child that almost dies of cancer and then one that did, that really put that focus on my shoulders and in my heart to
Hmm.
be able to do it. So it's been something I feel like I don't feel successful. I'm just being honest with you. I feel like there's so much more to do. And I'm very thankful for people like you that spread the message, because I say this constantly. I was just with the president of Kosovo. We were just at these big events, and she's a good friend of mine. Her story touched my heart so much, but I told all the social media and PR people there, if we don't share these positive stories, that maybe they had a negative context to begin with, like cancer's negative, losing a child,
Hmm.
the toxins, the microplastics, no one wants to hear about it. But what about the positive aspect of that? And I really feel like if people can start having faith in us as humans and the fact that we can make changes, we will. You can't just say a virus is going to kill a population and not give credit to the human beings that are here.
Mm.
If we medically and scientifically use our passion to change things, we can, but it will never happen without PR, social media, and the creatives, because the creatives are what take it to another level. And I
Sure.
mean that. A lot of people don't understand that. I'm a small piece of what I do, right?
Mhm.
But together we can all make these major changes for the world.
Aside from the incredible products that you've created, what are some of those things that you can do every day to try to expand your life?
So it really is important to ground. I know you probably know that.
Hmm.
People don't realize that. I need to do it a lot more than I do, but
Yep.
it makes a major impact. Your stress level causes inflammation and causes diseases and autoimmune disorders. You and I both know that, but a lot of times people don't pay attention to that. So meditation for me and prayer is hugely important to
Hmm.
me. I spend hours a day. And if you ask me how do I do that with my schedule, when I sleep, I've trained myself because I have trained. I grew up in church. I grew up going and praying. I also have trained in India and in Malaysia and different areas on how to meditate. So I put myself to sleep that way. When I wake up in the morning, I spend hours doing it in kind of a semi conscious state
Sure.
because I'm trying to really focus on what I need to do with my body. But it's not just what I don't just focus on myself, I focus on everyone I'm working with, people I meet, and really trying to create this energetic bond so that we can elevate and not go, further
Yeah.
down. So
Yeah.
those are really important. Even water is very important.
Huge. I carry my hydro jug all day. I probably
Yeah,
refill that 5 times a day.
right. And so I focus a lot on that. I focus a lot on green tea because that also will help with your aging process,
Yeah. Doesn't green
autoimmune.
tea almost kind of cleanse your body a
It
bit too?
does. I wanted anything that I created. I have animal products, for example. I wanted anything to be able to be used with children or older people inside or outside of their bodies, making sure there's no toxins. That's why it was so important to me that people could use it. So I would say those are really important. I do want to go back. Another thing that I feel like people don't understand. I know people take showers,
Hmm.
which is really good to loof the body and get the dead skins off, but also taking a bath in different temperatures or cold plunging. Infrared is really important.
Hmm.
I always put in lavender into my water and Epsom salt because it really helps the body heal. And then if I get really sick or something happens and people are always like, "What, you get sick?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I
With
do."
your travel
With my
schedule, yeah.
with being on a plane, 100 hours, it's crazy my schedule. So I will put clove and orange and oregano and different antibacterials into my water with Epsom salt and lavender if I get really sick. And I make the water really hot and I get in and I get out. I stay in as long as I can and then I get out.
Okay.
And then I've even done that process for my face when my face is breaking out. But it hurts really bad. I don't know if your audience ever wants to do it, but for me, having Lyme's disease, having had cancer, I can take that 3 minutes of pain, right, to get better. And I've never done that without it helping me.
Wow.
So if I get like, I used to get pneumonia all the time, and I know the products that I've worked on have helped me, but still sometimes I get sick, and that's what I do. I carry just the oils around with me, and I do it.
And it hurts because it's hot.
Yeah, cloves hot, oregano's hot, the orange is hot. All of those are hot, but they're also
Uh-huh.
very antimicrobial, antibacterial, antiparasitic, and antifungal. And when the viruses happened, I was more worried about fungus and parasites than anything.
So if people are trying to have a hot girl summer, right,
Yeah,
and eliminate some toxins from their
yeah.
body, what are some things you think that the average person, especially in our country, should be cutting out just to automatically improve their body overall, systemically?
I think everyone knows this. It's hard to accept, but like when I had the pituitary tumor, I cut out all sugar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean all sugar, right? And I want people to know even like fruit, certain fruit holds on to the sugar, and certain fruit holds on to toxins too and heavy metals. And some of the fruit we have, even if it's organic, it doesn't even have the minerals and vitamins we thought it had. And I know people hate hearing it. I hate hearing it. Like when I go to a country where there's never been GMOs or pesticides, the fruit's so much better, right?
Totally,
Yeah.
totally.
But I think you have to pay attention, even if you cut out sugar, pay attention to the fruit that you're eating because some of it is high in sugar. So you want to pick things that are not high in sugar.
Hmm.
Avocado's a fruit, right? That's a little bit better for you. And then again, carbs are sugar. I just want to say that. I know that's hard for people to hear,
Totally.
but if you're really trying to do that this summer, then you've got to focus on really proteins and good vegetables. And I'll say that again, good vegetables. Like having a pound of French fries or a potato every night is not healthy. And then there is a balance, right? But if you're really trying to clean your body, those are things you need to do, and you need to work out.
Hmm.
I mean, you've got to get things going. There's not a day I'm not running around. I don't work out as much as I should, but I do work out in my room in hotel rooms. Even if you can get 10 minutes in before you start your day, before you go to bed, it really does get the cells in the body to work more effectively. And it also helps the body rid of toxins. So if you're doing like a chelation or a detox, you've got to be moving. You can't just sit there and think it's going to work as effectively.
Sure. And I've heard, from people in my personal life that have taken Ozempic, that's very
Hmm.
trendy right now, or
Yes.
semaglutide. And they all say, I'm really happy with the weight that I lost, but I feel like really flabby
Hmm.
and I lost all my muscle tone
Hmm.
because they stopped working out after they were taking the shot because they didn't think they needed to, not realizing that it was eating away at their muscle as well. So I
100%.
think no matter what you're doing, changing your life, you have to keep your body moving.
Ozempic is not a horrible product, in my opinion, when people really need to make that change because they're
Totally.
diabetic or they're overweight or they just need to, because this extra weight on our bodies is horrible for inflammation.
Hmm.
But you need peptides along with it that do the opposite. And let me explain that. So I came up with Sculpt, which blocks the sugar and carbs. It's not as effective as Ozempic. If you ask me, it takes a little bit longer. It can take you about 2 months instead of doing this fast release, but you
Hmm.
will. Most of our people have lost a lot of weight on it. But at the same time, I tell them they have to take a peptide blend, which helps the muscle because you will lose muscle when you're doing that, whether it's Ozempic or the products I make. People have this misconception of, okay, I don't need to do anything. You need a positive peptide, and again, I recommend the powder formats or the pills because you have to see if they're going to work, and you need to make sure they're sequenced right. Ozempic alone is not bad, but long term, because of your delivery mechanism inside, it can cause very harmful side effects.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on Botox?
I'm not against Botox.
Okay.
So if you look at my history, I know we both don't know everything about each other, but I worked in dermatology for a while. I worked with human monoclonal antibodies with like rare diseases. But through that, I worked for the top plastic surgeons and dermatologists in the world. And then even before that, working at Pfizer and different companies, I was exposed to the top key opinion leaders living in San Diego and LA at the time. Of course, it was great
Oh, yeah, of
because,
course.
and I was young.
Yeah.
And they were, so I was educated, and I actually know the inventor of Botox and the CEO, Robert Grant, really
Okay.
well. We were knighted into the same family at the Vatican,
Amazing.
and his story is phenomenal. But I'm not scared of Botox because it is something that can help actually with migraines. I don't use a lot of Botox. I try to limit it. Any kind of injection, I try to limit to once or twice a year.
Hmm.
I've been criticized though that I even use it because our followers are really into nature and natural things, and I am
Sure.
too. But I also understand the whole process and how it was made.
Yeah.
And to me, it's one of the safest things to use on your face.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was an aesthetic nurse before I
yeah,
left nursing and do social media full time. So I was just genuinely curious
yeah,
because obviously as someone that not only administered it but is a frequent user,
yeah,
not just to keep my face looking young and glowy, but
yeah.
also because I have really bad TMJ, I have really bad
Right,
migraines, and those are all covered under insurance.
right.
And it's a little bit different when you're comparing aesthetics with medical.
Yeah.
So that's why I was curious of your thoughts.
Yeah, I really think there's misconceptions about Botox. I know people can have reactions. They're usually reversible. You know all of
Sure.
this. But for me, no, I'm not against Botox. I'm really not. I use a lot of lasers, to be honest, on
Yeah.
my face and body. I like lasers.
Yeah.
I like a lot of that, but I'm not against that. I'm not against the newer brands. I just don't know as much about them, and I haven't worked on the new ones.
Mhm.
But no, I'm not against Botox.
Okay. Good to know. I'm like, whew, glad we got that out of the way. What's your thoughts on alcohol consumption? Because I hear different opinions based on whatever country you're in.
Yeah,
I'll give you an example. My dad is 69 years old. He's turning
yeah,
70 in August. He's in incredible shape. You would think he's like 45. It's
yeah,
crazy. He'll run 10 miles every morning. He was a marathon runner. He'll drink non-alcoholic beer. He
yeah.
doesn't drink any alcohol unless he's overseas. And he said it's because when he's in Europe and he drinks the wine, because it doesn't have a lot of the additive
It's true.
chemicals
Yeah,
that America has, he doesn't get a hangover
true.
or a headache.
Right.
So, what's your thoughts on alcohol and also different parts of the world where they drink what they drink?
Well, have your dad try clean spirits.
Oh, he would love
He
to.
won't get a headache.
He's he's very in tune with his body.
Oh
He's
yeah.
incredible.
If you put a couple of drops or dropper in clean spirits,
Yeah.
then it's blocking the sugar and carbs. So I don't like to drink a lot because you gain weight.
Yeah, no,
So
that's yeah.
I get a headache from wine unless I'm overseas too, unless I use the clean spirits in it.
Okay.
Clean spirits also, if the wine has gone bad or not as good, it'll make it taste better. But
Wow.
anyway, for me, I only drink tequila, and I only usually drink Casas or Reposado because
Really?
I know about their process. I
Okay.
will drink Casa Amigos. I'm sure George Clooney would like me saying that.
Yeah.
But the reason I do that, and you can drink it straight, and I don't like it, I just put a little bit of lime and lemon in it, and then maybe a little bit of agave. The reason for that is I know the whole process, and you're sipping tequilas typically won't even give you a hangover. And actually, it has health benefits as well because of the cactus. Yeah,
Really?
I don't promote like drinking 5 glasses, or
Yeah.
I usually never have more than two,
Mm-hmm.
because again, I worry about weight. I have to get up the next day. But definitely that's something that I do drink. Do I feel guilty? Not at all, because it's not hurting my body. Now, if I drank in excess, I would. And the other types of alcohol, for whatever reason, I can't drink without getting a headache or feeling bad. So I just don't drink anything else.
What's your thoughts on marijuana consumption?
So I am probably a pretty good person to ask about that. If you look at my history, I've worked all over the world. I've worked on numerous projects that had to do with like children and brain tumors. Novartis actually launched a drug when I was involved. I think I was at Biogen, and I sat next to the CEO. Of Novartis. We were going over to Australia for seizures for children that they would inhale, 3 or 4 times to help them with the seizures. And they had such a high success rate. I've seen children with brain tumors have effects. And I know some of the scientists, I'm a little involved in the Human Genome Project, and they know that colon, for example, colon cancer and different types of GI issues, certain types of soluble CBD or THC are helping, right?
Mm,
Because cancer, like a colon cancer, is like a wound. It's kind of like skin cancer, and the
sure.
wound won't heal. So though we know that that can help heal recreationally, I just know children. People shouldn't do it if you're male until you are 24, 25, 26 because of the hippocampus of the
Mm-hmm.
brain. You just don't want it harming it, and
Mm-hmm.
there's some studies that show it can. CBD just got a bunch of hits negatively in the medical community saying it can hurt people. I personally think in a lot of aspects it's better for people than alcohol.
100%. I
I
agree with
I
that.
also have to tell you this: when people have cancer and autoimmune disorders,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of the things that can really help them. So you choose: do you want to be on a chemotherapy and go to the hospital because you can't keep food down, or do you want to take THC in something so that you don't end up in the hospital? And I know people that are mothers have a hard time hearing me say this. I'm not trying to promote it. I'm being honest scientifically about what I feel. And I've read all the research, I've been involved in some of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's the most horrible thing. I think anything in great excess, even if you ate 100 apples, right? It's
Sure.
just not good for your body. Yeah.
I was going to give an example that you just took words right out of my mouth, and that was working as a nurse. I actually remember doing my clinicals in nursing school because I worked with children. So obviously
Yeah.
that was not acceptable to our patients. But when I was shadowing adult nurses on a cancer unit, they would this was actually before it was legal and you were able to get it in a lot of states, but it was in a capsule and they were able to give it to their patients,
Yeah.
and that was what gave them an appetite. And I just remember being so inspired by these nurses because the second they had an appetite for whatever food they wanted, they'd be like, I want a Blizzard from Dairy
Yeah.
Queen, I want a Big Mac from McDonald's. The nurses would go drive their personal cars and get whatever they wanted for them
Right.
because they could finally keep food down.
Right.
And I think there are so many negative effects of alcohol.
100%.
And last year, I did a 3-month streak with no alcohol. I didn't drink a sip of alcohol. And when I have ever tried marijuana, which usually is an edible at night to help me sleep because I
Mhm.
have really bad insomnia,
Yeah.
I feel like it changed my life
Yeah.
because it gave me a solid night's rest.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I needed alcohol to make me sleepy, or if I was going out to have a good time or party with friends.
Yeah.
Like I remember my husband and I even went to Vegas with some of our friends. I didn't have a lick of
Yeah.
alcohol and I felt totally okay. But I feel like it's also a little bit safer when it comes to consciousness,
Mhm.
especially when people are out. Like we've seen the effects of
Oh,
alcohol
yeah.
and it can be tragic. And I feel like marijuana has helped people that struggle maybe with drinking,
Mhm.
that they feel like they're maybe participating in a social activity or, I don't know, their high maybe makes them feel buzzed like alcohol,
I
if
don't
that
know
makes sense.
why it all makes sense, and I don't know why it's become such a religious, topic.
Sure.
If you really look historically, and I'm sure you have,
Mm-hmm.
at marijuana in
Oh,
this
yeah.
country and why it was not legalized and why alcohol was, knowing that alcohol causes liver damage, kidney damage, brain damage, fetal birth disorders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's why it's scientifically, I'm so I wish people would understand. I have to be careful because legally it's not legalized in a lot of states. Delta 8 and Delta 9 are, which I would prefer people not use that. I would prefer them to just really, like, it's legal here, right? So anything you're buying, it's been tested, they know what's in it. It's typically not a Delta 8 or Delta 9, or if it is, they'll tell you. But the reason I don't like that is there's a synthetic component added. So if you can have stuff naturally, it's better. But I had a patient that was very, very sick and they were going into the hospital. It was when I was doing an investigator sponsored trial and they just couldn't get better. And I actually had a family member that went through this and they were able to take a gummy with THC and not go into the hospital. And I kind of mentioned it earlier. Do you know how much money that saved? Do you know how much anxiety and stress? Like, because the truth is, when you're sick, you know this from being in the hospital with these children,
Mm-hmm.
you can die because you can't eat,
Totally.
right? And
Absolutely.
so for me, there's no excuse that people have this closed mind about it and they're so judgmental about it when they don't understand the scientific facts surrounding this.
Yeah, it's interesting because my husband was a police officer, like I said, for 12 years, and his last few years he was a sergeant, so he was in charge of a squad. And before he left, we had joked because he joined law when he was, I think he joined law enforcement or the academy at age 21, and he grew up with a pastor as a father. He had never tried marijuana his
Yeah.
entire life until he was 35. And I'll never forget the first time he ever smoked marijuana. He said, I can't believe I was required to take people to jail
I know.
for marijuana, but
I know.
alcohol consumption was fine.
I
That was
know.
not something that was an arrestable offense under certain circumstances. Obviously, DUIs and counted in that, but
Yeah.
he always says that, and
It's
he's like,
crazy.
it's crazy how warped we were kind of trained to be because it was an illegal substance, right? But comparing it to drugs like cocaine, ecstasy is just completely different.
Well, they say it's a gateway. So my question is, so alcohol's not a gateway? Like, I'm really
Totally.
curious about
And you know
it.
what? I have friends that have battled addictions or have spouses that have battled addictions, and they always say alcohol is what makes me want to do cocaine. Alcohol is what makes me want to do X, Y, and Z drug.
In some of the rehabilitation centers now, they will actually, and I actually, there's one of the most prominent universities here. I ran pain studies as a researcher in the United States. I'm not going to name which one it is. It's one of the top five, let's just say that, Ivy League schools. They told their patients with pain to not do the pills that you got from the pharmacy, but to do the stuff they could buy legally from like
Sure.
a
Dispensary.
dispensary.
Yeah.
And they said night and day about people getting better and getting off pain meds was that was the trigger right there. The marijuana helped them
Yep.
be able to stop being addicted to pain meds. And for me, that's so important because the pain crisis, the fentanyl crisis is so huge. That's why the legalization of it for me, I can't spend my life fighting the legalization, because that's not my mission.
Yeah.
But for me, it's been so bizarre how it's been handled because it's really helped so many people that have been sick.
Before you're able to buy it in a dispensary, I was working as a nurse in the PICU and I had two kids. I won't say their ages because I won't violate HIPAA, but they were teenagers. And I worked one shift and I had a patient come in and he was at a party and they had illegally purchased marijuana because, again, it wasn't legal and they were also underage, not knowing it was laced with fentanyl.
Oh,
And he ended up passing of a hypoxic brain injury. And the next day I came in and I had another patient 1 year younger than this other patient that went to the same school, bought from the same dealer. He also died of a hypoxic brain injury.
yeah, I have a problem with people buying from dealers because you have
Yes,
no idea what's in it.
totally. And what you're saying about the fentanyl, it's so real right now in this country and with so many different prescription drugs. And I feel like it is a way to help people if you're doing it the right way, if you're purchasing from a safe place. Have you ever seen the movie Beautiful Boy?
Okay, I got my kid, I bought my children that book.
Yeah.
Have you read the book?
I've never read the book, but I love books, so I
I
will.
haven't watched the movie, and let me tell you why. I've read the book twice, and
Hmm.
it's devastating to me.
It is.
I think it happened here in LA, right? In San Diego?
It's somewhere local around
Yeah, it
here.
is. Newport Beach, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, and
everyone should read the book
it's
or see
it's
the movie.
such an important book to read, a movie to watch, however you choose to consume that. But I think it's so important for people to understand that you can come from a totally normal family. You can have all the resources you need, all the love and support, and sometimes it's just not enough to battle addiction,
No, it's not.
and that book is such a great example of that.
It,
But
it
if you ever have the chance, I think the movie is incredible.
the book I cried off, back and forth through the book because of the parents and
Mm-hmm.
what they went through, and you know how devastating it was. Like
Oh yeah.
he did everything, and I
Yeah,
just keep thinking about his little heart and
I
still think of
know.
him. I mean, he went to prostitution, he did everything just because of
Yep,
drugs,
totally.
and that's where I think it is important. I've never seen personally. I've never been around someone that was so addicted to like THC personally,
Mm-hmm.
where I've seen any of that.
Yeah,
I've
never
seen
either.
a lot of people in the other areas destroy their lives.
Totally. Okay, we're kind of running out of time, so I want to talk to you about one more thing because it just piques my interest. What's your thoughts on breast implants?
So I have mixed thoughts about breast implants. I think I'm one of these people that believe women should do what they want to do with their body. I think they have to understand the consequences. I don't think breast implants are horrible. I think you have to have the right doctor. You have to have the right breast implants. You need to
Mm-hmm.
research what's best for your body. There's all kinds of genetics out there now that are available. But I don't think anyone should do Botox or breast implants because their husband wants them to or
No.
someone else. I was criticized again on another podcast because I said I think breast implants are okay. I actually think what you want to do with your body is okay, but you have to understand the risk. And there is a risk with any surgery. There is a risk whether you have silicone or whatever you're using in your body. But I know how you always hear the negative
Mm-hmm.
about everything. But the truth is, there's a lot of people that have breast implants for 30, 40, 50 years. They don't have anything. You don't have to have them redone every 10 years. In fact, if that's what you're hearing, that's not the facts that are known. There's all kinds of new data that's come out, and people should really just be really aware of where the breast implant is coming from, who the doctor is, what their rate of revisions are, because that's important.
Mm-hmm.
And then they need to make a decision for themselves because you've got this one life. And for women, I really think we want to look beautiful. I
Totally.
think, and however you want to look beautiful is fantastic. I love the fact that a lot of women aren't having them anymore. And I feel like women are beautiful whether they have them or not. But I truly have always believed this. It's not my decision. It's an individual decision, and I don't think it's the worst thing you can do to your body. And some people, it changes their life in a positive because they have problems with their body and they're not happy.
Yeah.
And for me, happiness is such an important part of life.
Hmm.
It's as important as your health, right?
Totally.
So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, to be transparent, after I weaned my daughter, who my youngest, I breastfed her for 14 months. And I mean, girl, my nipples were touching my ankles.
Yeah.
Like, whew, we can
Yeah.
tie those babies in a knot. So I
That was good.
I lifted them right up.
Because you're like me, you've had four. It's
Yeah,
like
well,
you're
well, just breastfeeding alone, because I was very busty. Like
Yeah.
I was a 34 double D. We were very busty on my dad's side. My aunts all had boob reductions, and so after I breastfed my kids, just gravity, you know. And so I got a lift and I got an implant that was actually smaller than my boobs were before I had kids. And what it did, it kind of filled that like
Yeah.
loose skin that I
Yeah.
had. But I obviously was very concerned about breast implant illness. My plastic surgeon she's an incredible woman. She's a prodigy. She's
Yeah.
graduated Cornell pre-med at 20 years old,
Wow.
like just an incredible human. And she knew my concerns, and the implant company is required to call you prior to your
Yeah.
surgery. So if people are not getting that call, by the way, you need to talk to them. But I loved how open they were to me asking questions about breast implant illness. And they had talked about the gummy implant and how that was recalled because that had a direct
It's
link to
true. Yeah.
lymphoma. I did silicone
Yep.
because it's just the cleanest, way to do it, is
Right.
kind of how I thought about it, trying to be as sterile as possible.
Yeah.
And gummy implants aren't offered anymore, but I liked that I had the option to kind of talk with them about it.
Right. I remember when the gummy implants came out, and I was never okay with that, to be honest. I thought
Yeah,
the silicone was the best. I was lucky because I had four children, but I'm really muscular. You can't tell as much now, but I was kind of built like a boy, but I was always like a 34, 36B. I still am.
mm-hmm.
But it did change. I want to say this to women. It does change the way your body is when you have children, like my
Yeah,
stomach, like everything. And
totally.
again, I want to go back to this. And there's different things I've done to my body. Like I wanted to do liposuction and like a tummy tuck. I have an amazing doctor. He was like, "No way are we doing it, Christina. You're not 21 anymore. You're just gonna have to do sit-ups." And so, but some people need it, and
Yeah,
I would encourage women not to be jealous of other women that have it, not to
totally.
talk bad about it. I think it's amazing. I think whatever women want to do to look better, like I've done different tightening techniques for my skin so many times in my life that were lasers,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just what I chose to do, and it was expensive. Like I'm gonna say, some of the stuff I've done is more expensive than if I would have had like a facelift, right?
Totally.
Because I really want, like, I've used exosomes, I've used V cells. That's another treatment on your face that's
Mm-hmm.
really, you're going to see a lot of stuff about in the near future
Sure.
because there's a guy named Dr. Todd, and he redirects the cells to where they need to go to live and thrive. And some of those procedures, when they're cutting edge, are very expensive. And again, I'm just pro women. I really am. I feel like we've hurt each other a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And when people say to me, men have really hurt women, because we've kind of gone backwards a little bit in some areas,
Yeah.
I always say, well, women have hurt women too. So we have to change it.
I fully agree. And I think when you have a large platform and the majority of your audience is women,
Yeah,
women can be so
I
mean.
have a large, yeah.
And I think what you said is so real about, there are so many unrealistic beauty standards now
Yeah.
because of the amount of work that people have had done, and not shaming that work. I've had work done and I've been very honest about it. And that work has always been held against me,
Yeah.
where
It's
people
not
say,
okay.
well, you can't share your diet and exercise routine because you've had work done. But if I didn't live a healthy lifestyle, I wouldn't look the way I am. That's
Not at
just how
all.
it is. You can get lipo 30 times over, but if you're
100%.
eating like shit and you're not working out, it's not going to be that way. But you see some of these women on social media and celebrities that have had so much work done that don't talk about it. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that they have to,
Yeah.
but women look at them and say, I'm supposed to look like that.
And
It's
they
not
can't.
realistic.
No, like I've done Sculpta. I've done Motique. I've done Soft Wave. I could go on and on. And if people want to criticize me, I mean, I think even our own families criticize us, right?
Totally.
I don't care. I don't criticize what they do, and I think women are beautiful however they decide to look. But I will say this: it is unrealistic to say you haven't had anything done, and
Yeah.
then you look the way you look, and then someone, I'll just use my age, has a lot of wrinkles because they've never done anything. I'm very fortunate. I was just with my mother. She's 83. She looks fantastic. And I was just with Martha Stewart. And so I said to my mom, Martha Stewart was so beautiful, Mom, like you, except for she's had plastic surgery. And my mom goes, I have not had plastic surgery. And I said, no, I know. They look different, but they were both beautiful.
Totally.
And I don't think anyone should be upset either way.
Yeah.
And I will say that, for me, as I age, it is important how I look. I'm not against any of those things. And I have been criticized like you for the statements that I've made.
Mm-hmm.
When I say, like, I've developed a skincare called Ella Pure with peptides, and then someone hears that I've had a laser done on my face, I've had to give up worrying about what they think.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, I do use lasers. I do different things on my face. I have done Botox. And I'm sorry if it upsets people, but it's my life, it's my body, and I'm going to live my life.
Totally. I love that
Yeah.
mentality. What do you have coming up that you're looking forward to, that you're planning on the next few years that you can share?
We are producing and testing the clothing line. I'd like to have it. We were doing a fashion show with Burberry, but we switched to Lafayette. And the textile, some of the CEOs of some of these major companies want to use my textile, so I'm testing it in South Carolina. I'm excited about that because I want to get protective clothing out there. Our environment is not always safe,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to protect babies and children from what's going on with the pollution and heavy metals.
Yeah.
And then I am in the process of launching different things that have to do with like areas of oncology with doctors. I have a partner that we're looking at launching just for women that have cancer. I have an omega that I'm working on and a vegan collagen, which I've already produced before, but I think a lot of people do, they don't want anything that has to do with an animal, right? So that's
Sure.
important. And then I have a whole line of products that I'm working on where I have literally am cleaning all of the product. I'm doing it right now in a 3-step system and we test it, but I'm raising the bar on that because I really want to produce things for the world that will not just make them look better and feel better, but I do want to reverse aging and I do want to help with longevity. I want people to live a great life. So that, along with our genetic test we launched, I think we're going to see a really good future for people. I'm looking forward to helping people get rid of the fear and the anxiety. 1 out of every 5 children will be born with mental health issues or cognitive functioning issues. And I think some of the scientific inventions that I have patents on, that I'm doing research on, will help those children. And I'm really looking forward to that because of my own children. The anxiety is just so high, right?
Yeah.
And I want to help people with that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed getting to know you. And
Thank you.
after chatting with you, I want to buy all of your products. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm going to try everything and I'm going to live to 130.
Yeah.
Well, you're a fascinating person. You're so smart. You're inspiring as a working mom. So I really appreciate you being here and
I
sitting down
love
with
talking
me.
to you. I'm inspired by you, and it's great that we're both from medicine or science, and
Yeah.
we're both really trying to make positive changes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And where can people find you?
You can find me on Dr. Christina Rahm, and we're on all the social media platforms.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.